Crop circles, a mystery that fascinates, amazes, and gives rise to heated debate. Is this phenomenon of human origin? Are the authors really two old men, David Chorley and Doug Bower? Yet, one of the pair is now dead, and the pictograms are still there. They continue to appear in ever more beautiful and complex forms, in spite of the fact that one of the pair is no longer with us. Who creates them? Are they man's work, or were they created by forms of intelligence of other origin? What is the function of the mysterious balls of light often seen above the fields where crop circles appear? Is someone trying to communicate with us? A series of questions to which we will try to give an answer. A mystery to be resolved that could be important. The messages conveyed by the symbolism of the crop circles are repeated in an extremely similar manner by the communications delivered by contactees in the course of the years. So, we could consider this phenomenon a new and more evident form of contactism, in which the word is replaced by the charming and harmonic lines of these patterns. The message that is being conveyed to us by the circle makers is important. Indeed, it goes beyond its physical and scientific aspect. Having said this, we will call upon what the Swiss contactee Billy Meyer reported about a flying object from the Pleiades, which left the 3 marks we are now seeing on the grass in Switzerland. On the basis of the elements examined so far, we must point out that the alleged experts and the mass media have acted in bad faith in the way they have presented this subject.
This is unfortunately where you and I are sat here, but the masses, the public, have been contaminated by the irresponsible media that I've been discussing. And therefore, they cannot come to this judgment. If they have been told it is a hoax, then they are not attempting to understand what is there.
An attitude which is extremely hypocritical and which implies a strong interest in concealing what is taking place on our planet. One consideration that can be made with regard to the mass media is that it is important that they all get the right information. This is fundamental for the advancement and development of mankind, and whoever possesses the right information or the knowledge also possesses an extraordinary means of power capable of conditioning people so that they favor certain choices and lifestyles even against their own interests. The scandal of the 2 English pensioners, Doug Bower and David Chorley, erupted due to articles that appeared in a British scandal-seeking paper called Today. The article that appeared on September the 9th, 1991, is a clear example. These 2 pensioners stated that they were the authors of all the crop circles which had appeared up to then, and which comprised a period of about 13 years.
Clearly untrue. There was no way they could have produced, at that time, the peak of 15 each day. These are 265 they were, them, 65 years old. You cannot place across the whole country 15 circles in one day and be responsible for them. No way. I mean, it's totally impossible.
In order to test their reliability, they were invited to make the circles in the fields in the presence of eyewitnesses and movie cameras, but the outcome was quite disappointing.
We did the day after they did set this in the newspaper. We arrived with national television cameras, and we asked them to make one in front of the television cameras. And the one they've made, which I think you've probably seen, we took photographs of, I sometimes show it at lectures, everybody laughs. It is a mess. There is no symmetry, no beautiful symmetry. The plants are ripped out of the ground, they are shredded. It was made by these people. That proves nothing. It proves one thing, that what we have been looking at was not what they did.
Although one might accept the fact that these 2 might have made some pictograms, they cannot possibly have been the authors and accomplishers of the entire phenomenon. As a result of the researchers' persistence, they confessed to lying in a private conversation, but refused to confess publicly.
Ich habe selber mit einem von den beiden, Dave Power, gesprochen.
I have spoken with one of them, David Chorley, and he himself has confessed that they too have seen many crop circles, that they have no idea about whoever can have created them, and that they have first observed the phenomenon and then reproduced it. As a matter of fact, their crop circles are ridiculous copies of the original phenomenon. Every researcher has identified them as hoaxes.
Nevertheless, even today, many people consider the two pensioners the authors of the crop circles. What's more, Dave Chorley passed away due to a serious illness, and the pictograms are still appearing worldwide in greater numbers and with more beautiful patterns. The dynamics of these events are an indication of the methodology of discredit and debunking adopted against the phenomenon of the crop circles. Similarly, the phenomenon of unidentified flying objects and the extraterrestrial presence on our planet is being boycotted. An attitude that does not reflect the actions governments should take in the interests of all peoples.
Kontaktaufnahmen vorbereiten, vertraut machen. Schritt für Schritt Daten, Fakten.
They should reveal step by step data, facts, evidence, and they should stop this stupid debunking and ridiculing policy, which is, in effect, the policy of power.
Wissen bedeutet Macht. Und man will mit diesem Wissen natürlich schon, man will es in den Händen einer...
Knowledge means power. We are in the hands of an unscrupulous elite who govern the world policy, who secretly control everything.
Im Verborgenen steuert.
If knowledge is synonymous of power, then it is very likely that the government secretly analyze this phenomenon and study it with great care, but withhold the results from the public and make every effort to discredit the phenomenon in the eyes of the general public. Evidence of this is the considerable military presence near sites where the circles have appeared. Anonymous black choppers have been spotted and photographed as they flew over the sites of the pictograms. They have also been seen in relation with some UFO events.
Und oft genug haben Forscher
Many times the researchers have seen these black helicopters chasing the small unmanned spheres that we believe are connected with the phenomenon, that are responsible for the phenomenon. Obviously, the British government has already discovered a long time ago where the crop circle phenomenon comes from.
In 1999, an unexpected initiative taken by the English government further confirmed their hostility for this type of phenomena and for those who study them.
The civilian pilots who have flown with the crop circles researchers have only asked for petrol expenses, have then received some letters from the British government in which they were warned to stop this or they would have their flying licenses revoked. Today, the crop circle researchers can fly over the fields only with commercial helicopters at the cost of 1,200,000 lira per hour. That makes the crop circle investigation more difficult.
All these activities indicate that those who hold the strings of the world do not want to afford mankind the opportunity to realize that advanced civilizations are encouraging a change of heart on our part. If man became aware that it is possible to live in peace and harmony, not waging wars, without battles of any kind, with true justice and equality for all, many privileges would immediately fall. It is therefore important not to be caught unprepared and to pay attention to all the maneuvers which try to conceal and discredit these extraordinary phenomena. It is necessary to investigate quite seriously and with great care and with great open-mindedness. In Italy, the phenomenon of the crop circles is practically absent. The photographs we are showing are relative to events occurred in the fall of 1995 in the province of Pordenone. However, almost all of the components manifested by the phenomenon in England are missing here. The similarities of these interactions with the crop circles are only in the circular shape and in some effects found on the plants involved in the phenomenon. The meticulous investigations carried out by the Italian researcher Professor Antonio Chiumento have brought to light the characteristic effects caused by the action of some form of energy comparable to microwaves. We must note that in the same period in which these marks appeared, this area had seen an intense activity of unidentified flying objects.
Trova consistenza, ha trovato fondamento.
There is grounds to believe that some extraterrestrial intelligent form has interacted
in Arba, Malnisio,
in Arba, Malnisio and Maniago.
a poca distanza dalla base.
It should be noted that in their vicinity is found the NATO base at Aviano,
Nel passato, più lontano e meno lontano, teatro
where in the past numerous sightings have been reported
che non sono state
which have not been explained.
As we've mentioned before, the link between UFOs and crop circles is considered valid by the researchers. In over 20% of the cases, there were sightings in the proximity of and in the specific sites of crop circles. There is footage showing small white spheres hovering over the fields where the crop circles have appeared. In the documents showing these objects, there is one that has caused a considerable stir. In it, one can see spheres flying over a wheat field, and in a few seconds, a pictogram similar to a snow crystal appears. The footage was recorded at 5 a.m. on August the 11th, 1996 by John Wabley, an English UFO enthusiast of the crop circles phenomenon in proximity of Oliver Castle in England.
This is amazing.
Numerous controversies have been raised concerning the authenticity of the footage. However, the accurate analyses carried out by the American researcher Jim Diletoso, an expert of computerized systems of video analysis, have not ascertained any trace of falsification.
My opinion on the Oliver's Castle video footage is that there is no evidence of a hoax. The key thing is that if the Oliver's Castle image was made digitally, that word digital says it went into a computer. In the vertical interval signal of the copy that we have, there is no evidence that it was ever digital format. So point of the story is I find no evidence of a hoax in the Oliver's Castle crop circle formation, and I find enough unique and interesting things to think that it very well could be real and should be studied further.
Other researchers have challenged the authenticity of this footage, but so far, no one has been able to furnish any valid proof. What's more, the pictogram that appears in the video was real and contained the characteristics seen in the real crop circles. The only doubts persisting concern the unusual behavior of the person who filmed it.
So I am, unfortunately, as a researcher, not qualified in that field, simply to accept that Jim believes it, and others, it to be technically real, authentic, and yet the groundwork into the individual concerned is highly questionable. Then I am so sorry not to be able to totally embrace it, because I'm a little unhappy with certain facets.
In any event, while we await a definite response concerning this footage, we can nevertheless watch what occurs in these cases, a behavior which is consistent with the reports made by many reliable eyewitnesses who've seen this phenomenon as it was occurring.
Aside from the possibility that the video might be real or false, it certainly has shown what many people around the world have observed.
There is other footage, quite well known by the UFO enthusiasts and UFO experts, in which similar objects are seen as they perform maneuvers that no vehicle of earthly origin would be able to perform. During the maneuvers of Apollo 17 on the Moon's surface, One of these white spheres was seen hovering next to the space module. This footage was filmed in January 1976 over the English county of Wiltshire during an experimental flight of Concorde by the cameraman aboard a British Airways plane. In the 90s, these spheres were seen and recorded on film even more frequently in various parts of the world, an activity which is increasing along with the phenomenon of the crop circles and of other extraordinary manifestations worldwide. The particular nature of these spheres and the potent spiritual symbolism manifested by the crop circles has led some experts to suppose that in reality, the entities responsible for the crop circles go beyond the concept of scientifically and technologically advanced alien civilizations, postulating that they could be such highly developed entities that they have totally sublimed the physical nature of their body onto a plane of pure energy. A concept that has become familiar to the public thanks to the experience of the contactee Carlos Diaz, but also largely spoken about by the contactee Eugenio Siragusa.
Through to the signs on the fields, in the fields, that if we are looking at another intelligent hand here on the planet Earth, we would, I think, be forced to accept that the connection between us and, we'll say, them, which could be a God force, could be the God force, that this is being done with total respect.
The impact of these magnificent compositions is many times described with a great emotional feeling, even by the most important researchers of the phenomenon, as if it were an enlightening, mystical or spiritual experience.
One of the really nicest experiences is when you walk into a formation. The feeling that I get when I walk in them, right from the beginning, has been that they were really special. At times they feel too special to actually walk in. You feel like I should stand here and just respect.
This particular sensation, which has changed the life of many people, including Colin Andrews, is not derived from understanding the message given by the pictogram, usually deciphered or understood only sometime later. It would seem that these patterns are capable of instantly communicating subliminal messages, data that go beyond the ego and reach directly the innermost part of man. Various experts believe that besides trying to amplify the awareness of mankind and warn them of the changes in course, the phenomenon represents some kind of energy therapy necessary to counteract the destructive effects of man's activities on the ecosystem. Truly, it implies a restoring equilibrium to the planet. This is also confirmed by the consideration that the sites in which the crop circles mostly appear, such as Stonehenge and Silbury Hill, are found on some energy lines of the planet, similar to the meridians of acupuncture on the human body. These sites correspond to particularly active focal points leading to the chakra in human beings. Chakra means vortex or spiral, and the same spiral is one of the most characteristic elements of the crop circles. It is remarkable that the grid structure of these energy lines of the planet are very similar to the famous orthotechnic lines, which represent the preferential routes on which the UFOs travel and appear, as statistically revealed by the known ufologist Amy Michel.
There
is a very interesting connection between the crop circles and an ancient science called geomancy. This ancient culture practiced acupuncture. It manipulated the magnetic energy of the earth thanks to certain areas where sacred buildings have been built. In these areas flows the energy that establishes a contact with the cosmos. They used this energy to make the soil rich. Aimé Michel, an important French UFO researcher, has observed that the majority of UFO sightings happen along these ancient lines,
stattfinden und dass offenbar die UFOs mit dem Magnetfeld der Erde arbeiten.
and that the UFOs work with the magnetic field of the Earth, and they use them like roads, like the railroad. And these are present also in the crop circles.
Various theories that we've heard so far need further scientific checking, but we can certainly say that the crop circles announce a change which is the dawn of this time. A change announced by innumerable signs and awaited by many people.
Everywhere I go, people say, I feel something big's going to happen. And you see, when I say it, my hairs are standing up on my arms, because I know that too. We are seeing in the environment, in the meteorology, in the weather and the climate, other signs of change. These, I believe, were just one series of signs which are referred to in prophecies from the Bible to other major prophecies, foreseeing future events. The crop circle phenomenon, these patterns, I would call them maybe the cosmic artistry. They are another layer of persuasive signs. Only, I think, until we are able to really establish who we are at the very, very depths of our being, to know what we represent, to know how truthful we are being, whether do we really want to resonate with this planet, or do we want to get as much out of it as we can and destroy it? I think it is giving us important information. I think it's demonstrating the new millennium, the new science. And the new science comes out of a new time, a new age, where we are resonating with nature, and we will be able to not only enjoy, but to have a quality of life much better than we have now through materialism.
Es wurde angekündigt von Jesus von Nazareth, dass am
It has been announced by Jesus from Nazareth that at the end of the times some signs in the sky and on the earth would appear that would make the whole mankind understand that an era was about to end and a new one to begin.
ganzen Prophetien, die darauf hindeuten, die dritte Botschaft von Fatima.
All the prophecies refer to this: the third message of Fatima, Michael Nostradamus' prophecies, the messages of Garabandal, and so on.
Die blutenden Statuen, wir haben die Stigmata, wir haben Menschen, die Visionen.
We have bleeding statues, stigmatas, we have people who have visions, Marian apparitions, we have an increasing number of UFO sightings.
Himmel zeichnen.
We have crop circles that appear in 24 countries all over the world.
Wir haben Zeichen am Himmel auf der Erde und man muss blind sein.
We have signs in the sky and on the earth, and we must be blind if we do not recognize that this has been announced at the beginning of the third millennium.
Wenn wir als Menschen uns nicht beeinflussen,
If we as people are not influenced by consumerism, by greed, but by spiritual values, the values of Christianity, by the values of an authentic religion that we have to feel within us, then we as people could create a new age of brotherhood and justice here on earth.
als Menschen ein neues Zeitalter der Brüderlichkeit und der Gerechtigkeit hier auf der
If
Erde.
we recognize that everything in the universe is connected by way of cause and effect, and if we modify our path, we can avoid all the prophetized catastrophes.
unseren falschen Weg korrigieren, dann können wir alle vorhergesagten Katastrophen
We have to heed what is revealed,
hören.
what is in the Gospels, what is told in the prophecies and so on.
Evangelien steht, was in den Marienerscheinungen gesagt wurde und so weiter und so fort. Wir müssen
We have to understand that we hold the destiny of mankind, the destruction or the construction of a golden age.
Aufbau eines goldenen Zeitalters.
With words of hope and exhortation on the part of these researchers, we close this path that we hope has brought some light on a very important phenomenon of these times.